Well, I'm so excited to welcome Heidi McKay today. We have a great conversation in store for all of you. And we were just chatting before. We're going to definitely get to talking about our feet and our pelvic floor function. And I know we always love, as much as we can, talking about fascia and pelvic floor and movement and all of that. So I'm super, super excited for our conversation today. So, Heidi, welcome. And I would love for you to just share a little bit about your story and what got you into doing, foot zoning? And then I'm obviously going to have you share what that is because, I don't think many of us know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. What a beautiful audience that you facilitate and work with. I think there's nothing more beautiful than understanding the nature of feminine energy and how that relates and how it communicates. So, I am married. I have 6 kids. And about 10 years ago, we found ourselves in the experience of a really intense mental health journey with my daughter, anxiety and depression. And for 3 years, we played into that Western medicine model. If they said it, we did it. If there was a study on creatine and depression in teens, we were on creatine. My husband has a Western medicine background. He's Ivy League educated. He is a mid level practitioner. And so we exhausted that world completely. And after 3 years, we had kind of hit our limit. And a good friend suggested a foot zone. And I was like, what? Are you serious? I just laid my heart out to you about the hard we're in, and you're telling me to go get a foot massage? Are you kidding? And she looked at me and said, you have nothing to lose. And she was very right. And so we did. We went and got a foot zone, and I've been lit up and hooked ever since. And so that's my story. That's how I'm in this, is the biggest critic to understanding how the body communicates and how we can access that. Here am I, ready to share with the world what that looks like for people.
I love it. I love it. So, okay, let's start off with what is a foot zone? I heard the word massage in there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, traditionally and anciently across cultures, access to the feet has been pretty foundational. It's not common narrative in America because we really are a new culture. But if we tap into traditional Chinese medicine or anywhere else in the world, we have things that have been taught and passed down culturally that allow us to know that there's access to the body through certain markers on the body. So there's a map of the body on the feet. And when we understand how that map of the body plays out on the feet, we can tap into the four bodies and access that. And so the ultimate goal of a foot zone is to align the entire body through these signals. It's not a massage, even though it does feel so good and it does feel like you're being pampered to have all these different points being hit on your feet. But it's about a 70 to 90-minute treatment going through all 12 systems of the body, every major organ access. We hit especially the vagus nerve. The nervous system is a huge player in the foot zone. And so essentially, it's just access to your whole body through a really amazing treatment of the feet.
so is it like reflexology then? Is that the same thing or are they different?
Oh, I love that question. So, reflexology traditionally focuses on the majority on the bottom of the feet. We find organs on the bottom of the feet. We tap into systems on the sides and top of the feet. So, while reflexology does tap into meridians and different points, foot zoning is a European method. It's pretty new in its discovery. It's in the 80s and 90s that it came to fruition, but it is a more complex treatment. Like I said, 70 to 90 minutes of accessing different points. And while some techniques are pressure based, this one is not so much the technique that I teach. A lot of people say, I've had a reflexology treatment and I wanted to die. The pressure was so intense. I'm like, that's just that school or that line that they have been trained in. That's not the line that I teach because I'm acknowledging that there's a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspect. And a lot of times, tons of pressure isn't the way I want to address when a body's communicating.
Oh my gosh, I actually really love hearing you say that because that to me lines up exactly with what I teach. And that is because fascia, just for everybody listening, I know you know this, of course, but for everybody listening to reiterate that fascia actually can respond so much better to a lighter touch. And that's why in my programs that I teach so much of that gentle ball work and the breath focus, right? So when we get into the body and we actually be more gentle with our body, it's amazing how that just facilitates to open up. so much in the body. So this is making so much sense with what you're saying with the foot zoning. So I would assume, but please dive into this more about just the different spots, like you said, on the top of the feet and the sides of the feet, even just like gentle touch. And do you use other modalities besides touch, like essential oils or, you know, different, just all sorts of things, right?
Yeah, for sure. So to address fascia, absolutely. The heel on the foot is where the pelvic floor is on the body. So think about what happens when you've been on your feet for a long period of time. What starts to ache? The heel or the ball of the foot. We have amazing access to the pelvic floor through the feet because think of how much coverage inside, outside, all the way around that pelvic floor is. And if we think about the higher function of the fascia or that wisdom self of the fascia, it is to support femininity. It's to support creation. It's to support the give and receive and the flow, especially through that pelvic floor. So it's beautiful to consider a gentle touch, a welcoming touch, a safe touch when it comes to fascia. When we consider its supporting role is to help the fallopian tubes, the ovary, the uterus, all the things that are gospel truth to you, right? It is the thing that allows that to flow and allows that to be well and allows that to express in women and in that feminine communication. So that's how fascia plays out on the foot. We do have very gentle access when we're working on fascia and muscle and tendon in the body. And the foot, it comes in layers. So we layer in intention when we treat it. So while it can be in the same spot, yeah, we're addressing fascia in level 1. Then we're getting into that muscle in level 2. Then we're going to organs in level 3. So it's just this beautiful process of uncovering and supporting. As far as other modalities go while you're working on the feet, yes. If we have access to the entire body by accessing the feet, let's tap into chakras. Let's tap into the 4 bodies. Let's tap into the nervous system. Let's bring some essential oils into it. It's all frequency. It's all movement. How high do we want to go in our mathematical equation? If enlightenment is reached at 1,000, that so many biblical Christianity, Hebrew tradition tells us that 1,000 is enlightenment. When I'm on someone's feet, I'm thinking of a mathematical equation. How can I raise this frequency or this vibration through different modalities to have this grand finale effect to achieve this wholeness of a person where they can go through and do life and their best self at the highest frequency? So all of those things, yes, we bring into the foot zone.
I love that you mentioned frequencies, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really what all these modalities, whether it's movement, whether it's breath, whether it's foot zoning, it's all about working to shift our energy frequencies because we are all energy and
Yeah.
it's all about frequencies. I think it's such a fun, fascinating conversation. It can be one, I know that can be challenging for people to kind of wrap their head around, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also when you get into the science behind it, what is it? It's because we're mostly space. Our atoms are, what is it? I can't remember. I feel like I know this, but right offhand, is it like, it's like 99% is space and it's only like 1% of our bodies and everything is like atoms moving back and forth really, really fast, right? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it is all energy. We are all energy. And I think this is why there's so much power that we all have. I always say this, people like, we all have it inside of ourselves to shift, but sometimes we need, and this is why so many different modalities exist because some people resonate with one more than the other. So anyway, I just think that's fascinating. Do you have anything else to add on the whole frequency energy side of the body?
No, I love that. To me, it's abundance versus scarcity, and frequency and energy is allowing that movement to raise and to shift and to happen. And when we fuel from an abundant source of thought that there's so many things available, that number is just going to go up and up. And even when we hit those or those spaces where there's blockage, if we tap into a fuel source of abundance, we know someone somewhere knows something that will help me, that's going to connect to this blockage and light me up and allow me that space to just understand what's being communicated. Nothing's gone wrong. Nothing has ever gone wrong when it comes to frequency and energy. It's just listening. And when we tap into that scarcity, it's like, no, you can only do this. You can only suppress. You can only cut out, right? And while sometimes that's where the blockage is in the energy, and being kind with ourselves when we recognize that, that scarcity doesn't allow healing. Abundance allows healing, and allowing ourselves the narrative. What are we going to connect to, and how are we going to connect to that and love ourselves in the spaces when we're stuck?
So good. I'm like, I want you to keep going because I'm like, this is so good because you're just saying something that I say a lot too, is that with, and I see this too, especially with my coaching, my private clients, that we have like a deep, deep dive into health, right? Maybe they've been suffering for a very long time. And I can say to everybody listening that those that I see come in with a mindset that, like, this is what I need, and I am so ready to heal, and I will do what I can to help facilitate my healing. Or even if it's just as simple as healing your pelvic floor, getting stronger, getting out of back pain, whatever it is that when you go in it with a mindset, it it will work. Like, it will work. There's no doubt about it. And I see it again. I said yes with like the deep dive, with the health, but also as, like I said, as simple as just some of the aches and pains, or you just want to get stronger in your body. It is so stinking powerful that at the end of the day, you can do all the things, and all the things will work a lot better if you are going about it with a mindset that this is exactly what my body needs right now.
Mhm. Absolutely. And am I willing to listen? Am I
Mhm.
willing, even though it feels really messy because things feel stuck, and there's some part of me that's telling and showing up that I'm broken? Can I hold the space for that and love myself in it, to allow that shift, to listen to that shift, and not to buy into that is me? That's just simply a thought or a communication that's ready to be addressed. That's a low vibration that's ready to be raised. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're making me think of, so many times in with my core rehab program, we get a lot of women who love to run and do high intensity training, but we're dealing also with pelvic floor dysfunction and aches and pains and low energy and all of that. And so we always ask them to just put a pause on that,
Mm,
for right
mm,
now. And I know that's really, really hard. I mean, I've had this is like the biggest conversation I've had with students and clients over the years. And the really awesome thing to see is when women, I know it's hard like mentally up here. And we have to recognize, I think too, is that when so much of it is just being overridden from our logical brain and we're not really connected in our body. And I hear all the time from women, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I listened to what you said and actually slowed down what I was doing because that wasn't right for me right then. And then you work to heal your body, get stronger, rebalance, raise your energies, whatever it is that your body needs. And then you get back to doing what you really want to do. And you're doing it easier with no pain, with no dysfunction. And like, I love it when I hear like moms say, oh gosh, I've had 5 babies or 3 babies or 7, however many it is. And they're runners and they want to run. And they really stopped and listened to their body and learn to be more connected to their body. I think that's a big thing. And I would love for you to chime into this too, because again, so much of our life, I feel like we're just bombarded and we live up in that busy, busy mind chatter up in our logical brain and let that try to control so many of our thoughts. But time and time again, I hear from women, and this is like the common piece when they learn to really tune into their body, and many times it means slowing down, slowing down to connect with their body, that then when their body is really ready to ramp back up and do the more higher intensity exercise, they're doing it, and they're doing it with, I don't want to say ease because it may be hard and a good challenge for her, but she's doing it without dysfunction and it feels aligned for her.
I love that. One thing that I'd love to bring in, and I hope this isn't too hooky or too weird, and you and I are very much on the same path. So I hope this is okay if I bring this in, but I
Yeah, go
think when
for it.
it comes to women and to feminine energy, it's so much about the reflection of the earth and how we see ourselves in the earth, right? And the earth rests every winter, it rests every season. And a lot of times it's super uncomfortable for people, especially women, because the higher function of that feminine energy is to be fruitful and multiply and replenish. And if we think about the pattern of the earth, in order for spring to happen and the harvest to happen and the explosion of summer, it's deep stillness of winter that requires us to look at ourselves and to listen and to connect. And I find for myself and people that I work with, especially women, spring is the hardest, not winter, spring, because they haven't listened in winter. And so they want to pattern and mimic and explode and shoot off and go forward and start to blossom. They haven't had the stillness that you're talking to. They haven't had the opportunity to realize they are not their narrative or who they are or their worth or their value isn't based on how much they can get done. It's just one working part, right? And so sometimes they'll own, if I'm not busy, if I'm not productive, I'm not valuable or I'm not worthwhile. And the truth is, winter to spring, I think as women, is the most beautiful pattern to learn so that we know how to be still and we know how to do that rest and listen and observe so we can connect to that explosion of growth and feminine energy that spring offers.
No, I love that. It's so funny you said that because I am well aware of that. And we talk, from time to time about the cycles, right? Women, as we cycle in that month cycle, or if you don't cycle and you follow the moon cycle, or you also follow the moon cycles and you cycle, because sometimes you get on a moon cycle with your cycles, which I think is very fascinating. But we also with the seasons, and I think that is very interesting. And I think it's, winter, especially when you live somewhere cold, which you and I do, it does kind of force us to slow down. Like you almost just have to, because at least here it gets so cold sometimes that you just have to. Because I even noticed myself coming into, spring into summer, I'm just like all of a sudden like just so much more active because I'm outside all the time and I love the sunshine. Because even if the sun is shining in the winter, we still don't get any vitamin D. So it does you zero good from a vitamin D perspective to be in the sun. It does very good for you from a circadian rhythm still perspective. But yeah, I think we as women in particular need to tune into that, ground more, slow down more, listen to our bodies. And if it's saying, like, hey, I just need to take a little break, take that break because then you're more productive. Like I find that, and definitely I was, especially when I was younger, I was super go 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 all the time to the point of burnout. And I feel like so many of us have to experience that. I don't know, Heidi, if you've experienced. I mean, you've got twice as many kids as I do. I don't know how you're doing it.
One day at a time. One day at a time.
One day at a time, exactly. But and it sucks to see so many of us have to like get ourselves to that place of burnout before we realize, oh, we actually really do need to slow down. So if you ladies listening haven't got to burnout yet, start really listening. Don't ever have to get there to really start to rebalance and be more in balance with your life. So anyway, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's so important. Okay. I feel like, do you have anything else to add to that? Otherwise, I have a couple more foot
Oh yeah,
zoning questions for you.
keep
Okay.
going.
So
Yeah, I love.
we'll kind of go back, but I love these little diversions because I think it's such great little reminders for everyone listening. So, okay. So I know you mentioned essential oils, and for me, I am a fan of that. And I've even seen like menthol. I use like the more natural like menthol rub when my kids have had coughs and put it on their feet and put socks and say go to bed. And it's the craziest thing, but it works. It works
Yeah,
better than any cough medicine. It works better than any chest rub for a cough. Can you explain that a little bit?
yeah, absolutely. So because we have access to the entire body on the feet, when in doubt, rub on the entire foot. For whatever the body is going through, just start there. In foot zoning years ago, it was actually taboo to put essential oils on the feet. It was this huge no-no. You couldn't even put salve. It was this big thing that the mentors that I've worked for in years past have worked through. And what I found it's all about the mathematical equation. And so if we have a child whose body is communicating through fever and through cough and through burden of strengthening the immune system with this viral introduction to the body, yeah, we can use peppermints and wintergreens and these blends that all these different companies have are so awesome because they really do tell you, okay, this is what we're going to use in a virus. And they give you all the reasons why. A lot of times people can get really caught up into so many details and wanting to have it just right on the feet. And I'm like, go here. As a mom, we have this beautiful gift of intuition. I just call it the green light. To me, that's just really easy to connect to as a person. What is your green light telling you? Get out of your head, go to your green light. that first bottle of essential oils that you go to, that's probably exactly what your child needs. That's your intuition just going straight to your heart. And so a lot of times people will be like, well, I want this in-depth essential oil class. And I'm like, but you already have everything you need right here. Trust. The first things that comes to your mind 9 times out of 10 is truth, honest and true. And so the courses that I teach, the at-home stuff that I teach, everything that I preach is all about the green light we are given as women, trusting that, tapping into that, and understanding that. So yes, having 3 essential oils in your home, I promise, if you use that intuition, will be helpful by putting them on the feet. When we started with essential oils in the foot zoning world 20 years ago, lavender and peppermint, I think they are the cure-all, end-all, be-all for essential oils. Lavender calms, peppermint excites, it brings things. They are the perfect yin to yang. So if you're looking, where do I start? One step at a time. Just like with 6 kids in my household and a husband in Western medicine, we do 1 hour at a time and we get really good at that hour before us. So for me, peppermint, I always have peppermint in my purse wherever I go. I could talk for an hour about peppermint and all the good things that it does, but it excites, it brings balance, it opens systems up. And lavender has this beautiful feminine quality to it too, where it's soft, it's gentle, it brings reprieve, it opens up, it relaxes. So if you have those 2 things on hand and you're rubbing your kids' feet every night through a cold, through the communication of anxiety, depression, you're set. So, and then just add to your knowledge as you go and really trust that green light. And essential oils are a beautiful part, but that's the most effective area you can put it, is on the feet. Mm-hmm. Essential oils on the feet, the best access to the body by doing that.
I love that. That's so good. See, that explains why the menthol rub works for the cough. So ladies listening, you have a cough, your kids have coughs, put it on their feet. So it does. It's weird. It's like magic. It's amazing. And I love it. Okay. So Heidi, what about anxiety? Do you recommend, obviously lavender being calming? Is that kind of your go-to for women who, or even kids that may deal with a little bit of anxiety? What's your recommendation for that?
Yeah. So on anxiety, there's a multifaceted approach. Anxiety is what brought me into this world. So yes, lavender is a beautiful, supportive essential oil. If we want to talk about essential oil, actually accessing the feet, if you know anything or not about the feet, just touching somebody's feet, it calms the entire body with a couple of touches because we have access through the feet to the entire body. But anxiety is not an emotion. Anxiety is 1,000 emotions that are ready to be addressed. And if we're in the experience of anxiety, it really is a bold communication that our strength, our feminine reaching, is wanting a more full understanding of emotion and how to name an emotion. Saying an emotion is 80% of the release and the connection to it. So anxiety is not an emotion. It is actually just a blanket approach to 1,000 things that the body's wanting to communicate, but we've bought into a narrative of suppression somehow. Because quite honestly, it's really uncomfortable to feel resentment. It's really uncomfortable to feel anger because most of the time as women, we buy into the identity of an emotion. We feel we are the resentment. We are the anxiety that is killing us, right? That is that is like literally taking the life out of the feminine energy to give and to receive. And so if we can have a really bold narrative, I am not the emotion. I am feeling anger. I am feeling resentment. It has nothing to do with me. It's the experience I'm in. When we become aware of the narrative and the power that we have within us, anxiety simply becomes, okay, it's time to take a break. I'm not paying attention to this emotional body. I have more work to do. I have something to learn when it comes to emotions. And because women have so many powerful parts and pieces within their anatomy that are about give and receive, anxiety is going to be a communication and an opportunity for women, for kids to understand how to communicate an emotion and how to say that out loud and not buy into the identity of it, but rather be a part of the experience in it.
I love that. That's amazing. I'm like, well, we should just come on here and talk about anxiety today. So I have some more questions about this because anxiety has become this blanketed term, and it's like everybody has anxiety, and I'm not saying anything against it by any means, but I've thought of this because I hear it from a lot of kids, teens. Like my oldest is a teenager, and I feel like it's become a word that we just throw around a lot, and it's like everybody has anxiety, and not that that's like a bad thing, but exactly to what you're saying, we are no longer really addressing what that underlying, it's always root cause, right? What's that root of that's contributing to that anxious feeling? And which again can lead so many people to then be on medications when we're not learning the actual tools that we need to help shift the body out of that anxiousness. Because I don't remember as a teenager or in college even ever really hearing that word like, oh, I have anxiety or I'm anxious. So it's like become a newer thing. Would you agree with me? I know this might be stepping on some toes a little bit, because again, it's a big diagnosis that gets diagnosed all the time. Oh, I have anxiety and I have depression, and it's like, okay, you may have those symptoms, but what's the underlying contributing pieces of that? So this may be going a little bit deeper than you're comfortable with, Heidi, but do
No,
you
I
have
love
anything
it.
else to like, because again, this is what I see. And so feel free to add to that, that why are we seeing this massive shift in like just, okay, we have anxiety, but again, it's not actually anxiety, it's something else.
So if we look to the higher function of this, if we're looking at this as a whole, like what are the people on this earth right now? What are they all willing to learn together? And it's emotional competence. It's the ability to have emotional resilience that's showing up huge for all humans on the earth right now. And isn't it so good because it's a blanket diagnosis to know we're in it together? Look at the explosion of information that we have had in the past
Yeah.
5 years regarding the power that we have within us to understand emotion, to understand mental health. And so for me, whenever I have a teenager or anybody come into or we're coaching through anxiety, I'm like, I'm so excited for you. Your emotional body is ready to be developed. Here you are at 16 years old, but your emotional body is maybe 2 years old and it's ready to come to par with you. So let's get comfortable. Let's say this list of emotions here and let's work through this. What do you feel when we say the word um, resentment? Oh, I feel bad. That's not very good. Are you bad? And it's this whole deep dive. Who are you? And so for me, like, I just feel so excited that I am alive at a time when a lot of people are on the same journey, when they're ready to work through emotional resilience as well. And anxiety, we know you and I with root cause stuff, it's mental, it's emotional, it's physical, and it's spiritual. So the higher function of anxiety is the ability to have a narrative with oneself of who we are, that higher power. Physically, a lot of contributing factors in today's society with anxiety. That could be a whole nother 3 hours. You and I talk about the
Yes.
that deplete those essential minerals that
Mm-hmm.
contribute to free flowing things in the body, right? And then we go into this mental body, these thoughts we have about the emotions. Well, I am bad because I feel angry and that's not comfortable. And I am bad. No, anger is a part of it because when we have the opportunity to experience anger, the resolution, the infinity, the other part of that that requires resiliency is peace. So we cannot know one emotion without the other. And oftentimes we get stuck in this big part that's just the emotions. And I don't want to say bad emotions because all emotions are just experience and learning, but
Mm-hmm.
we cannot know one without the other. It's the ability to navigate those. We get stuck in the center and we want to cut them off. We just want all joy all the time. We don't want to have any of those ones that tone lower. And it's the ability to flow with that and not let it have or say anything about us as we flow through that.
That was so beautiful, everything that you just said. I'm like, okay, so many things we could keep going and talking about. And I think some of this has come to light in a sense because it's like, well, everybody just wants to be happy. And of course, right? Who doesn't want to just be happy? And it's then we, again, like you said, focus on the positive things. Well, some people do a better job at that than others. But it's actually allowing your body to feel the bad stuff. And I like to explain it sometimes as just literally like you feel it, you see it, you acknowledge it. And then, hey, if you're ready to let go of it, you can learn the skills and tools to let go of it. So sometimes it can be as simple as just breathing into it, breathing out of it, and being like literally having a conversation with yourself and saying, I'm ready to let go of this, and I'm ready to feel it, and then I'm ready to let go of it. I think that's such a part of being human is to feel things. And we have gotten away from that, I feel like, to some degree. Is that making sense?
Yeah, for sure. Of honoring the
Yeah.
process that's
Yeah.
human. And I love to just tell people normalize it, normalize the experience of the flow between the positive opposites of emotion. Like, yeah, you're feeling anxious. Me too. You're having those thoughts of past things come up, and we could classify it as depression. Me too. What does that look like for you? What's your narrative about it? And kind of coming to center, like that's the experience of being human. And in a term that I teach in a lot of my classes is neutral love. Nothing you can say in this moment is going to shock me or bring judgment into it. I'm just going to neutrally show up. Like everything you say is safe, everything you are is love. And let's normalize being human so that we can connect, because connection is the kryptonite to depression and anxiety. It's that isolation that takes us out of the game and thinking that we're some exception to being human and that something's gone wrong. No, connect in that, normalize it with your people, normalize that ability to go back and forth and to let it say nothing about you, but more to your experiences being human.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Heidi, so much for sharing all this. This is
Yeah.
such a great conversation. Because I know so many people, again, deal with anxiety, and it's like, yeah, but what is that? So dig deeper, ladies. And I don't know, just I love the word neutrality, being neutral with things. So
Yeah.
sometimes I like to share with clients, and again, feel free to add to this. Sometimes I just love the statement of it is what it is, because I feel like that's an easy way to just kind of find neutrality with things instead of
Mm.
trying to judge something or judge yourself. And it's like, well, whatever the situation is, it is what it is, because so many things are out of our control, but we have the power within us. It's that perceived stress, right? That we can work to shift out of that. So, and I don't know. Anyway, so good. So Heidi, thank you so much. I have one last thing because Jen wanted me to ask you about this,
Yeah.
is which I feel like this might be a really good kind of takeaway, something for women to do at home, is kind of going back to our foot conversation, is about doing magnesium foot soaks at home. Is that something, because again, magnesium is really relaxing. So
Mm.
is that like with Epsom salt, foot soaks, things like that?
Yeah. So foot soaks are incredibly powerful. I teach entire classes on this to my certification students. So they're a big deal.
Oh,
So
cool.
I love the brand that I love, and I can give you a connection to this, is Living the Good Life Naturally. Kristen is amazing, and she has formulated the highest uptake of magnesium through the body through this specific soak. And we do it often at our house. That's actually like a family practice for us. The power of magnesium is to bring calming to the body, like you mentioned. It allows fluidity in all four bodies. So it allows emotions to flow more freely. It allows the physical body to detox. So magnesium is one of the few elements that we have access to. It literally has a key that unlocks every cell. It can get into a cell, it power washes. The difference in magnesium is it can get out of the cell. A lot of things get trapped in our cells. They don't have the keys to unlock both ends. Magnesium is that car wash or power wash. It takes the garbage out with it. A lot of people ask, can you do too much magnesium? Can you overdose on magnesium? No, the kidneys get rid of everything that the body can't handle. It utilizes every single part when it comes into the body. The positive opposite, or the yin to the yang of magnesium, is calcium. Calcium excites and it strengthens. Magnesium softens and it makes things to flow freely. So calcium stores in the body, but magnesium actually allows calcium to become more available. So as women, we say all the time, calcium deficiency, calcium deficiency. Now, your body's actually hanging on to all the calcium it needs. We just need magnesium to come in and allow it to be utilized in the body. So the foot soak is the best way to get it in the body. Transdermal uptake is what's considered when we're getting something through skin. A lot of magnesium supplements, we find about 10% of magnesium supplements are absorbed through the digestive tract, which makes an awesome, if you're working through constipation, take a magnesium supplement versus like a laxative or a stimulant. It's a really natural way to help loosen things up in that digestive tract. And it's mostly because it doesn't absorb anywhere in the body. I could talk for hours about magnesium. If you guys are looking for an awesome book, Carolyn Dean is an MD. She's written The Magnesium Miracle. That book is gospel to me. I've been using that for about 10 years in my home. Most anxiety, depression, mental health, women's issues can be solved with magnesium. So taking 20 minutes to soak your feet. And like I said, I love living the good life because I've done all the research and all the study. Kristen's concentration is the best uptake that you can add to your body. And she has really fun things too on like a 30-day challenge, what your body looks like after you've done it. Epsom salt's awesome. If that's what you have access to, fantastic. But it's just like parts of the puzzle. It's not the whole thing. Kristen's is the entire thing. So anything else you want me to say on that? I have classes and hours dedicated to magnesium. We only knew the power in that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm with you. I think magnesium is the number one thing that women should do. So I love this, be able to get it from a foot soak because I have a Mag Boost. I have a small supplement line and I have a really good, it's a chelated magnesium. You have to take a really high dose of it to move your bowels because it's with magnesium citrate, I think is the one that it's the easiest one to loosen your bowels. So I am with you on that. Use that over use your magnesium citrate over using a laxative if you need help with constipation. But side note on constipation, ladies, there's probably other root causes of that. But it can be a much better option for sure. So yeah, magnesium is very, very important. I've never worked with a woman who I've said, oh no, you don't need magnesium. Even with kids, the kids I work with, I'm like, I get labs back and stuff and I'm like, oh, they need magnesium. You just see it over and over and over again. And we need so much magnesium. So I'm going to start doing these foot soaks. I'm going to be excited. I'll experiment with it and see if I notice a difference too. So I love learning new little things. So I will be sure we'll link that up below so people can find it. So Heidi, this has been amazing. I know there's so much more we could talk about. I'm like, I'll have to have you on another day so we could go deeper. So ladies, reach out if there's specific things that you want to hear Heidi go deeper in about. But is there any last things that you want to share with everybody listening that we haven't yet covered?
We've had such a productive talk. I love that. I love being with like-minded people. I know that my heart is just happy thinking that a lot of people are going to receive this that are ready for it, that are willing to listen, and that might be on a journey. They might be on a journey for themselves to be loud advocates in this world to help women connect to their bodies and connect to their divine potential and that beautiful intuitive knowing. So this is awesome. Thank you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heidi. Will you share with everyone where they can reach out to you and find, I know you've mentioned some classes and things that you teach, so where they can find out all that information?
Yeah, my Instagram handle is just really simple, Heidi-McKay. I teach lots about home reels and things that you can do when your kids are sick on my reel section. And then my website is thefootzoningschool.com. We're getting ready to launch a bunch of at-home courses in July. Cold and flu, you download it, it will come straight to an app, and all these awesome reflex points on your feet to hit. And we're going to have a whole series. I teach certification programs, a really in-depth at-home program. All the good things concerning access points on the feet are found on the website and on my Instagram handle. So
awesome, Heidi. This has been amazing. And we'll definitely have you back so we can go deeper on some of these topics and conversations. So you're doing amazing work. So thank you for all the work that you are doing too.
I love that. Thanks so much, Erica.